All right, everybody, welcome back to Math Made Easy. So, today we're going to be covering the topic of graphing lines. Now, this is a really important concept because this is something that will show up in every math class that you go to. Now, you might have already reviewed this in your regular math class. However, I'm going to teach it to you in a way that will make sense when you take Algebra 1 and all the other math classes later on. So let's go ahead and get started. You should have a blank sheet of paper with you, and I'm going to use that. I want you to go, you're going to use that in order to just copy down exactly what I'm writing. And I just want you to do exactly what I'm doing, okay? So, first thing, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a line from side to side. This is called my x-axis, remembering that deals with my domain, right? Also sometimes called independent variable, etc., etc., etc. Lots of different names. Of course, right in the middle is 0. And of course, we can number all the way out. Over here, we have negative x values. And over here, we have positive x values. So, this is what we think of as the traditional number line. So this green one we would consider our number line. So if somebody said, oh, we're going to be ordering numbers. I need you to order the numbers. You would graph them like this in order to determine which one is higher or greater or smaller than another number. Okay. So that's pretty much all there is to know about the x-axis. But there's also a y-axis. Now, the interesting thing about this y-axis is that it always goes up and down, meaning it's vertical. We can also call this dependent. And we can also call this my range. Of course, it has numbers in both directions, which isn't really terribly important what the numbers are right now. Up here, we have my positive y values. And down here, we have my negative y values. So, with all of that information, we can actually plot out points. Each point is going to have two separate pieces. It's going to have an x value as well as a y value. And the x will tell us where it lines up, and the with the x-axis, and the y value will tell us where it lines up with the. So for each point, for example, if I said 3 comma 4, I would say 1 2 3, and then go up 4 1 2 3 4, and that would give me a point 3 comma 4. There are a couple of special points that we have to concern ourselves with. So let us go ahead and first utilize that, learn about that by taking a look at an example, okay? So let me take the example y equals 1/3 x minus 4. This equation is written in the form y equals mx plus b. And let's talk a little bit about that. This m is what I call my slope, and this b is my y-intercept, also sometimes called my initial value. Now, if I plug in my x value here, I should be able to calculate my y value. So this is what you should think of. My x input goes into some equation, and I'm going to spit back out my y output. All right, so now, whenever I look at that, I look at my equation and I say, all right, I see an x, I see a y. Whatever is touching my x when it's written in the form y equals mx plus b is called my slope. And whatever's not touching it is called my y-intercept. So let's go ahead and try and graph this. I see an x-axis, and I also see a y-axis. So first thing I say is this y-intercept. This is where I always start graphing. I see that it's -4. So I look at my y-axis, I look for -4. I'm going to go ahead and draw a point there. I'll do these guys in blue. All right, so now I have my point at -4. Now I'm going to take a look at my slope. I'm going to copy my slope over. M equals 1/3. This number at the top tells me how to move in the y direction, sometimes called the difference in y. If it's positive, I go up. If it's negative, I go down. However, down at the bottom, if it's positive, I go to the right because this tells me about my x's. And if it's negative, I go to the left. And that follows my axes. Notice how my x's get more positive going to the right, more negative going to the left, just like this. Notice how with my y's get more positive going up and more negative going down. So I look at this and I say +1, that's 1 up, +3, 3 right. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to say 1 up, 3 to the right. And I'm going to repeat that process over and over. 1 up, 3 to the right. 1 up, 3 to the right. And if I did it one more time, I would be off of my graph, so I don't need that point. However, what do I do in the opposite direction? Well, I do exactly that, the opposite. I go 1 down, 3 to the left, the opposite of what I did. And I keep doing it over and over until I run out of graph. Now I have my line. I'm going to go ahead and connect all my points together. And of course, I put my arrows to make sure that I realize that this line is going to keep going forever and ever. And let us take a look at some of these. Now, first thing they asked me about would be my x-intercept. This x-intercept is also where it touches my x-axis. Well, I don't see it on here, but if I was to go up 1, 1, 2, 3, out, it would land on 11. So I'll just write that in, 11, 0. My y-intercept is where it touches the y-axis, the pink line. So I see it's at -4, 0, -4. My origin is always where my x and y axis touch, 0, 0. And my slope is always whatever number is attached to my x, 1/3. I can also calculate that by counting boxes just like I did. So up 1/3. I find 2 points that go exactly through the corners of the boxes, and I just count the difference. To get from here to here, I went up 1/3. Up 1/3. Now I want to create a table of values. So all I need to do is just look at my graph and fill them in. So I'll start here. 0, -4. 3, comma, negative 3, 6, comma, negative 2, and 9, comma, negative 1. All right, that's everything you need to know about lines. But let's do a few more examples. So now I'm going to take another equation. Y equals negative 2/3 x minus 1. So first thing I say is, where's my y-intercept? Well, let's highlight that y-axis. Let's highlight that x-axis. And my y-intercept is going to be at negative 1. So I'm going to look for that. There it is. I'm going to go ahead and put a dot there. And now I'm going to use my slope. Negative 2, 2 down, positive 3, 3 to the right. So 1, 2 down, 3 to the right. 1, 2 down, 3 to the right. I keep going until I run out of graph. I'm going to do the same thing, but opposite in the opposite direction. 2 up, 3 to the right. 2 up, 3 to the right. 2 up, 3 to the right. Now I've officially run out of graph. I can go ahead and connect all my points. All right, so let's go ahead and identify the pieces. The x-intercept, well, I can't really tell what that is, so I'll just put an estimate, approximately negative 1, comma 0. My y-intercept, it touched at negative 1, 0, comma negative 1. My origin, always at 0, comma 0. And my slope is negative 2/3. Now I can go ahead and just pull out some values. So I'll start here at my y-intercept, 0, negative 1, and I'll go backwards this time. Negative 3, comma, positive 1, negative 6, comma, positive 3, and negative 9, positive 5. Now I have a table of values. All right, so I want to go through something else really quickly. So I talked about slope, but there are 4 different kinds of slope. And I want you guys to be aware of that. They look like this. Over here is a positive slope. This is a negative slope, which we've just seen one of each of those. This is called a 0 slope because it's m equals 0. And down here is an undefined slope because it goes straight up and down. Okay? All right. So let us take a moment to go ahead and go through one more graph, and then I'm going to allow you guys to do your work. So next one I want to go through is y equals 0.25x. So first thing I notice is it doesn't have a y-intercept. So I have no idea where to plot this on my line. Well, I see that there's nothing there, and the number for nothing is 0. So I plot it here on my y-axis, the pink line at 0. My slope is written currently as a decimal. If I change it to a fraction, which I can also use my calculator, it'd be 1/4. 1 up, 4 to the right. So let's try that. 1 up, 4 to the right. 1 up, going to do the same thing in the opposite direction. 1 down, 4 to the left, 1 down, 4 to the left, and now I have my line. Now I can start filling in my information. My x-intercept and my y-intercept for this one are exactly the same. Notice how they're both at the origin because it went there for both of them. So my x-intercept, 0, 0, y-intercept, 0, 0, my origin is 0, 0, and my slope is 0.25. This is called a direct variation or proportional. So whenever my b or my y-intercept is equal to 0, these are proportional, okay? So my table of values, 0, 0, 1, 4, 2, 8. Excuse me, wrong way. So 1, 4, 2, 8. And I'll pull another one back here. -4, -1. There are my values. So all I'm doing is just translating this into a picture. All right, so you guys go ahead and get started on your assignment. And of course, we're going to keep working through this for a few more days.